Good morning, and thank you all for joining us in the Under2 coalition. You are pioneers in dealing with one of the most significant challenges, if not the most significant challenge facing humanity. There's so much going on in our lives, in our countries, in the world, that it is not easy to focus in a measured way on the most important things as opposed to the more exciting things or the more immediate things or the more distracting things. But what is happening to our climate, the change in atmospheric chemistry and the impact on the lives of the 7.3 billion human beings alive today is something that we should reflect on, reflect very seriously on what is happening. And I do notice that while the concern and focus on climate change is greater than ever before, it is still inadequate relative to the challenge that climate change presents. This is not just another problem. This is far more than even a war or an economic depression. What we're facing is a change in the pattern of our weather, in what makes life possible for human beings, for animals and plants. It's the very basis. The climate is a key ingredient, a key aspect of all living things. So when that is challenged, as it is, we have to take notice, we have to take action. And that's what the Under2 coalition is all about. California has been taking action to reduce greenhouse gases, to encourage clean technology, electric cars, battery storage, reducing methane, reducing black carbon, soot. We are engaged in a very wide range of strategies to make our environment more compatible with healthy living. But we can't do it alone. California creates 1% of the carbon pollution, the greenhouse gases of the world. If we succeed in decarbonizing 100%, it will have very little impact. So we join with all of you. And if this group can dramatically, over time, reduce its greenhouse gases, that will make an impact. And if you take action, that will then inspire action on the part of those who are not represented in the Under2 coalition. Before the Paris Accord, there was very little public attention devoted to climate change. I know that. As a politician, I consume a great deal of news. I read the news, I look at the television, and there wasn't much talk about climate change. It wasn't news. Well, when President Xi and President Obama made their agreement, that paved the way for the Paris Accord. Very important. That really put climate change on the map, as it were. It made it a public topic. The next most significant event is Donald Trump announcing that he's withdrawing from the Paris Accord. That made even more news and brought home to people the importance of this subject. So in a very paradoxical way, President Trump's announced withdrawal has heightened the interest and the focus on this fundamental existential threat called climate change, called global warming, called habitat destruction, called species extinction, called profound changes brought on by industrialization and 7.3 billion people on the planet. And by the way, we're going to get another 3 billion. And we all have a billion cars. Now, what are we're going to pretty soon get 2 billion cars? Are they all going to be belching toxic and greenhouse gases out the tailpipe? I hope not. In fact, it's not about hope, it's about taking action. So in this meeting, we will talk, we'll listen, we'll confer, but all for the purpose of mobilizing the counterforce to the trend which is bringing humanity ever closer to the brink. That's not an exaggeration. And the fact that you don't hear about it that much doesn't mean that it isn't profoundly significant. And that's our challenge and our difficulty. We have to wake ourselves up, and we have to wake up our neighbors and our fellow countrymen, in fact, the whole world. And that's why we formed this group, Under2 Coalition. And all the people, over 170 states and regions have joined in, representing more than 1 billion people. So that's good. But of course, it's not enough, because we have to do things. We have to reduce our greenhouse gases. We have to get humanity on the side of nature rather than destroying nature, which will then destroy us. That's what we're faced with. And I can say, as a politician, most politicians are worried about something else other than climate change. And I know all these things are important: controlling crime, education, jobs, immigration, all very important. We have to do those things too, but we can't neglect this overarching challenge to our future. That's what's at stake here. And if the countries represented here, the states and regions, if China and California and New York and Washington and Quebec and all the different states and regions, if we pull together, we can turn this trajectory toward destruction into sustainability, into a grand movement and effort to make our planet sustainable. It's really big. It's hard first to get your mind around it, just to get your thoughts around this challenge, because it's so global, it's so unprecedented, that it's hard for people to think about it. But that's our job. That's why you're here. And as we grasp it, we can communicate it to others. And as we communicate it to others, our governments can adopt the policies that will stimulate the invention of clean technologies, of zero-emission vehicles, of ways of living that will make living possible, not just for another 50 years, but for another 500 years. Those are the stakes. This is a heroic undertaking that you are a part of. And I welcome you to the Under2 Coalition, and I just want to say, don't think this is an easy task. Nothing is more difficult, nothing is more important, but by being here, we're saying we're up to the task, we'll do it, so let's get to work. Thank you.